3,
Here we
2,
go.
1.
Hold on a second, folks.
Welcome to the Interactive Media Network, home of the I Am Radio TV network. And today, we are proud to present our premier show, Interactive Interviews, where you'll hear live interviews from the masters in personal development, coaching, psychology, and more, with your host, Jeffrey Miller, international radio host, author, hypnotist, professional speaker, and strategic interventionist. Now get ready to go interactive.
Well, good afternoon, world. How are you today? This is Jeffrey Miller, also known as the Hypnotic Interventionist, and I'm very pleased to be with you here. And I'm trying to do something really special today, and I say we are doing something really special today. We are doing a simulcast. This is the first time ever the I Am Radio TV has done a simulcast where we actually have not only our radio program running that we just did our intro with, but we also have, in fact, we are on what we call blab, because we love to blab. You know, we like to talk. We like to get people to see what we're doing, have fun. And we have an extremely special guest with us today. I'm going to introduce Scott in just a moment. I want to give you a little background information on who we are and what we do. The I Am Radio TV network is a division of the Interactive Media Network. We are a group of coaches, authors, speakers, and professionals that love to reach out to people and help people in personal development, et cetera, et cetera. That said, we have a team from all over the world that has collaborated, and we've gotten together into a network we call the I Am Network. And the network is such that we, at different levels in the network, participate in different things. At the upper level that we call platinum partner level, we have a phenomenal monthly mastermind. We get together and collaboratively and collectively work with other coaches, etc., with clients from all over the world, because we utilize Skype for our portal. It's a lot different than the old days when you used to pull in the back of the psychologist or whatever and have to go up and lie on the couch. Even though that's still there today, modern technology has taken over. We as coaches love to help people, and we try to get to it as quickly as possible. So the network and our levels of participation has offered that the platinum level, gold level, and silver level. And if you'd like any more information on that, we will get back to you very soon. But right now, I want to get to it because we've got an hour of fun. We call it fun. This is our call with the masters, and we have the master himself with us today, Mr. Scott Schmaren. And I'm going to read a little bit about Scott because he's quite an interesting gentleman. And when you find out why we call Scott the master, and this you will see and hear in just a moment. And again, we're on live television today as well as radio. Scott is a nationally known hypnotist, speaker, coach, author, television, and radio personality. As a self-described neuroperformologist, I love that title, he has spent over 20 years learning powerful success technologies to help people fulfill their potential and realize their dreams. Not only does he teach people how to release attachments to old values, he guides them into creating a new vision and then implementing a map to success that makes those changes a genuine reality. Using his own techniques, Scott dramatically transformed his entire life by losing over 180 pounds and maintaining his weight while rediscovering his vitality. Scott shared his story of weight loss during an appearance on the Oprah show. Oprah told her audiences, quote unquote, "If Scott can do it, I can do it, and so can you." Because of his technique, Scott landed a regular guest spot on the Howard Stern show and has appeared on Fox News, Coast to Coast Radio, and many other programs. Aside from media appearances, Scott also uses his knowledge to help diverse audiences. He has become a speaker for the Leadership Conference and International Success Summit for Dress for Success, a national organization that empowers women to achieve economic independence. Companies such as including, Uniglobe, Bartlett, and Visage International have invited him to speak as well. Scott's techniques are being used by CEOs, sales and business people, Olympic and professional athletes, and many companies to increase sales and business, control weight management, overcome obstacles, achieve goals, and do many other amazing things. Athletes and sales professionals, for example, are using his system to achieve consistent peak athletic and sales performance. Scott is the co-author of a book, Stepping Stones to Success, along with Jack Canfield, Deepak Chopra, and Dennis Waitley. The book details exciting new ideas about how readers can enrich their personal and work lives. Their ideas will help you discover the infinite possibilities that await you in continuing a life's journey. Scott has also a forthcoming book himself entitled, Yes, Creating and Living the Life of Your Dreams. Folks, I would like to introduce to you our master of the day, Scott Schmaren. How are you, Scott?
Jeffrey, I'm great. Thanks for having me today.
Well, it is a certain pleasure for us, sir. Part of the beauty of this network is that once a month we have a call with the masters. And you, sir, we were very happy for your acceptance to join us.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's fun to talk with a gentleman like yourself. As a hypnotherapist myself, NLP practitioner, and I trained under Tony Robbins in strategic intervention, and I bottled the three of them together in a little signature package I call 21 Days to Change Your Mind, which has been phenomenal. I relate to that. However, I am humbled to be in your presence because what you have done and what you've accomplished. I mean, well, I guess people will hear and what we said, and you're traveling now, you're speaking, you're doing many things, and you've been at this for probably about 20 years, I believe, right?
I've been studying how my mind works, for more than 20 years now, yes.
Oh, it's fantastic. Neuroperformanceology. Talk to me about that. And you have the mindset of success as your tagline on that. I want to get into for the first half of the show. Let's talk about that which you do that helps people change this stuff. And,
sure.
And I know it's everything and all to do with hypnotherapy, but neuroperformanceology. Talk to us about that.
Well, through my struggle, Jeffrey, and, spending most of my life, you can't see from here, but I'm a giant. I'm 5'6". And at my peak, I weighed 360 pounds and had a 56-inch waist.
Wow.
And through that struggle of constantly gaining weight, losing weight, gaining it back, and why I was having this internal struggle of not being able to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish, I started studying how my mind worked. And I studied lots of different modalities, from neuro-linguistic programming to programs like Silva, different types of meditation, anything I get my hands on. And what I noticed is they all had certain commonalities. And then I started taking the pieces of those things that I had learned, and I started putting them together and really coming up with my own form of modalities, using the hypnotic state to help myself first make change, and then sharing with others. And that's where neuroperformanceology comes from.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. So so pretty much did you coin the expression? Is it something you came up with yourself, or?
Yeah. Yes, I'm the creator of that word. Yes.
I love it. I love it. People say, well, gee, they talk to me and they go, I was just the interventionist for a long time. And people say, well, there's a lot of interventionists. And one of my very close friends and also a client at times who is potentially joining us on the network in the future said, I love what you do with hypnosis because it seems like it's helping so many people so quickly overcome the stuff that's been plaguing them, the debilitating beliefs, the negative self-talk, and they don't know what they don't know. They don't know where it is, what it is, but just know that these little things rear their ugly head once in a while and kick their butts to the curb, and they're not sure why they reacted the way they do. So just not too long ago, about 3.5 months ago now, I recoined myself or rebranded myself as, because of the hypnotherapy aspect of it, the hypnotic interventionist. And it actually has a pretty good ring. I said, the hypnotic interventionist, and you go into the hypnotic talk as we do when we talk to it into trance, and it comes out pretty good. So along with that, neuroperformanceology, creating the body of your gyms. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Your story is phenomenal.
Thank you.
You say you're a big guy, and I heard you say that, and I caught the cliche rather quickly, about 5'6". I'm 6'4", and I average around 240, 245 pounds, which is probably carrying a little bit too many stones, as they say, than I should. And there's a lot of reasons why, and because I love to eat, that's one of them. But I just love the fact that you were able to do that. I mean, you had to go through some understandably amazing thoughts about how to change that thought process, that why you were as heavy. 180 pounds release, Scott. God bless you. That is amazing.
Thank you.
That led you to many. I mean, talk about the story of how that all took place and what finally happened. Now, I think this is the crux of it. When a person finally decides to change their mind, there has to be a really good reason why they want to.
I agree with you. I was always the fat kid. And when I say I was the fat kid, when I grew up in my neighborhood, I was known as the fat kid, and I was teased and I was bullied and I was called names. And, I always had this little voice in my head saying, you need to help people and you make a difference in this world. However, I just started to withdraw. So I spent my life in front of the refrigerator and watching bad TV from the 60s and 70s. And the more I was teased, the more I withdrew. And I just buried myself in food. It gave me comfort. It made me feel safe, and it made me feel secure in the past. And I got bigger and heavier, and it was bad. I mean, I remember times, like I remember going to grade school, and in gym class, I don't know if they still do this, but used to have the President's Program on Physical Fitness.
I remember it.
Okay, and every year it was the same thing. And, it was lots of push-ups and sit-ups and pull-ups, a lot of ups. A lot of them I couldn't do very well. However, the part I hated the most is on one of the days they would weigh us in. And I had a gym teacher who thought it was much more organized to weigh us from the lightest to the heaviest kid. And it would be the same thing every year. It'd be the end of gym class, and all the kids would be on the one side of the gym, and there I'd be standing by myself waiting for my name to be called. And every year I hoped for the same thing, that some new kid would move into my neighborhood,
right,
and be bigger than me, so I could lose that title of being the biggest kid in the class. And the gym teacher would announce my name. Actually, he'd say, okay, Schmaren and anybody else who's left. And it would just be me, and everybody would laugh and cheer like it was like I was the king.
Right.
Except I didn't feel that way, and it was so embarrassing. And I put that big, stupid, fake smile on my face, and I go to be weighed in. And it was the same thing. I mean, I lived on my own as I got older, and I remember going to a New Year's Eve party, and I remember a bunch of people being there, and I remember finding a wooden rocking chair to sit down in, and I had a big plate of food and, of course, my Diet Coke. And I sat down in the chair, and the chair broke.
Oh, no.
Actually, I crushed it. And it was just like a scene out of a movie. I'm sitting on the floor, this big guy with a Diet Coke spilled all over him, a plate full of food everywhere, and the whole room just froze.
Oh, I can
imagine. In that moment, they looked, and they all started to laugh because, truthfully, it's funny, but it wasn't funny to me.
No.
And I felt about that big, and I remember getting out of there as fast as I could, and I did what I always did when I was upset. I went to my apartment. I had a pizza place that I had a tab with, like you would with a bar. I'd write them a check once a week.
Right.
And I called up. I ordered my pizza. I got my frozen Sara Lee cheesecake with the strawberries on top of it. And I ate them both until I was stuffed and I couldn't move. And I was angry and I was miserable. I hated the world. I hated myself. Why couldn't people just accept me for who I was? It was always everybody else's fault. And then one day I gave up. I had lost a lot of weight and I put it all back on, and I was at the lowest point in my life, and I lost my will to live. And I remember taking a bottle of sleeping pills and painkillers and pouring them in a paper cup, walking into my bathroom, putting them down on the counter, looking at myself in the mirror and seeing nothing.
Oh, wow.
And I took all the pills. And I took the pills, and then I went into my living room, And I had this chair I used to sit in to watch TV. I would hide from the world. I'd eat in that chair. It was my place to hide. I was invisible in that chair. And I sat down in that chair and I waited to die. And I remember being very scared. I remember my heart starting to beat real quick. And I passed out. And it was a long time. And I remember opening my eyes and it was daylight. And I can't even express to you in words the feeling I had. I had this tremendous sense of peace. For a moment, I thought I was actually dead.
I was that peaceful. It would be almost make sense if you would consider that, remembering what you had done, right?
Yes, and I'm going to be honest with you, I probably should have been dead. I took enough pills to kill an elephant. And the sun was shining through my living room window, and then I realized I was alive, and then the tears just started flowing down. And I realized that I must be here for a reason. Wow. And I made a decision. I got out of the chair. I got out of the chair and I said, okay, I need to find out why I'm doing the things I'm doing. And I realized that I was responsible for who I was and what I was. It was nobody else's fault that I was in this position. And as I started to explore my mind, I began to change. Like my first goal I remember setting was I wanted to go out in public and not being noticed for being the fat guy. And I did. And then I got smaller and I created this image of myself in my mind that I have and maintain for the rest of my life, a strong, healthy, lean, youthful, attractive body weighing 175 pounds or less.
There you go.
And I did. And then the little voice in my head that was telling me, you need to help people. You need to make a difference in this world. It came back. It came back loud and strong and powerful. And I took my real estate career. I said goodbye. And here I am today. And I've committed my life to helping people every day really discover how truly amazing they are.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. You and I have a lot of parallels. I also had quite a long real estate career. It was a little over 20 years, actually. Mm-hmm. And I became a broker owner with realty executives. Not in the beginning, of course, because I had to become a broker owner. And it was quite an interesting business, but also for the sake of becoming a coach full time, just about 5.5 years ago, I packed it all in, that I'm done. The journey that you took in losing the weight, how was that possible? I mean, there's something about what we totally know and agree that when we set this thing up from here, we bust through the firewall, we climb into the unconsciousness of our mind, and we say, we're going to reframe, we're going to do things, we're going to change the habits, because it's about those habits that, that want and desire. I mean, you must have gone through I won't say a rough time, but it must have been an unbelievable thing to go through. 180 pounds. What kind of time frame was that?
I started studying about 20 years ago. 13 years ago, I actually started pushing myself to do what I needed to do.
Wow.
And I've been the weight I'm at now for over 10 years.
God,
so, one of the things I learned is, especially, I speak at a lot of hypnosis conference, and what I find is, the hypnotic state is extremely powerful. It may be the most powerful state for making change.
Right.
But yet, we don't use it effectively. We live in a society, and I'm going to speak specifically for weight right now, where we think that diet and exercise are the answer. Eating good food and getting good exercise are the answer to weight loss. Right. And logically, they should be. However, they're not the keys. They are only tools. You've got to change the pictures up here first on how you perceive yourself. And not even so, like a lot of times I find a lot of hypnotists, they go in there and they tell people, well, you're not going to like sugary foods. You're not going to eat cakes and candies. That's baloney. You got to change how you perceive yourself, or you're going to go back to what you were doing. Right. And the moment I changed the perception I had of myself, so I changed the image of being heavy and overweight, and getting heavier and heavier was a way of protecting myself and feeling comfortable and safe in the world and actually getting noticed.
Right.
I changed that again, I have a strong, healthy body weighing 175 pounds or less that I maintain easily for the rest of my life. And what happens? My habits start to change. I start to become more aware. I engage what's called the reticular activating system of my mind, and I start becoming more aware of things that are going to let me be 175 pounds. And really the same mechanism that kept me heavy all those years, the same thing that keeps me where I am today. You made a statement at the beginning. You love food. You know what? I enjoy eating food more now than I did then, because I can actually sit down and enjoy a really good meal, enjoy the company of the people I'm with, as opposed to just shoveling it all in, getting as much in as I can, and then just feeling stuffed.
It has any meaning. You've actually changed the mindscape, as we call it, or the landscape of your thoughts.
Sure.
Yeah, and then one of my coaches in hypnotherapy, Dr. Mike Mandel up in Toronto, actually has that course, the hypnotic mindscaping course, and it's about that. And it's not so much hypnosis, as you said, is very true. It's about the envisioning of you as that different person and changing the belief structure to go along with it, to empower yourself to that point where you say, you know what, I'm not going to be any longer. This is the me, and this is who I really want to be. This is a life I want to live. And as you said, the enjoyment of the food, I think that's fantastic. People need to understand that if they do this in the right steps, that they can also be empowered to that same degree. And with you as a coach, I don't know how they go wrong anyway.
Thank you. Well, you know, what's interesting is the questions I get always now are this: how long have you been this way? How did you do it? And how do you know you're not going to go back? And here's how I answer those questions. In the past, when I was heavy and I had lost a lot of weight, I always felt like I was running around without my clothes on. I felt uncomfortable.
Right.
I didn't feel like it was me. I'd look in the mirror and say, oh, that's not really you. And I'd say, okay, when am I going to wake up? Maybe I should pinch myself and wake up. And I don't feel that way anymore. I like the way I look. I like the way I feel. And I like the experiences I'm having in my life. And that's because I see myself being much different than what I was before. I have the true image of myself, of how I want to be and how I live my life.
Uniquely and authentically who you really were meant to be is who you are now.
Correct.
And I believe that wholeheartedly. And I think a lot of people walk around in this paradigm of fun. It's like a facade. You know, it's like walking, you know, the old West, they had these beautiful fronts on the buildings that you would think it was this wonderful, glamorous building. But if you walked behind the facade, it was an old junky place. You know?
Right.
But in your mind, we look at ourselves a certain way. We perceive ourselves a certain way, and it has a lot to do with self-worth. You know, what do you feel your self-worth is that you would allow yourself, number one, to make that change? You had to have a self-worth situation, the esteem level, to be the heavy kid and do what you did with the habits you had formed and you had learned. And I think a lot of people have a misunderstanding about where they came from. It is what we learn as children, what we're taught, what we see, what we do that actually make the world in our minds be what we think it is. And you perceived yourself as who you became until you finally realized, hey, I don't want this anymore. And it took a neat experience.
I agree with you. I mean, you said something really important. You know, my clients range from people struggling with weight, alcohol, drugs, lots of things, CEOs from companies, professional athletes, Olympic athletes, amateur athletes, lots of things. And a lot of times the things they're struggling with, if we trace it back, they're products of the environment they grew up in. You know, they heard things and they become ingrained in them. Some of them are negative. Some are just terrible. And sometimes they're just taken wrong from the perception of a child, that they just hear things. Like I had a lady I worked with who struggled with her weight all her life, and she was in her mid-40s. And when we started to trace it back, her weight problem started with a very, very wonderful compliment she got from her mother as a very little girl. Her mother told her she had a beautiful face. Now, she took that as meaning that she was fat. It wasn't meant that way. Right. Her mother ever perceived her that way. And her whole life, all she kept hearing is, you have such a beautiful face. And it took her 40 some odd years of her life to figure out that she didn't have to be fat, that it's not how it was meant. And I see that over and over again. Business people that struggle with making money, they either have huge success and they crash and burn and start to cycle over, or they get to an income level and they can't go beyond that. Because somewhere along the line, they heard things all the time like, well, you know, money's the root of all evil. That's right. People that make a lot of money are dishonest or they're bad. And what happens? Somewhere along the line, they have some success, whatever that means to them. And the little voice starts to kick in the back of their head saying, what are you doing? Right. You know, you're a really good person and good people just don't make money like this.
You're absolutely.
And what happens? They don't really hear it that way. What they hear is, I need to go buy something really big that I can't afford. Or, you know what, I've been working so hard, I'm going to start taking some time off. And that thermostat kicks in and it kicks it down a couple notches where they feel comfortable, where it's safe, and they're not so successful because they're a good person. And those things are all changeable. They're very changeable.
That's right. And I think most coaches will tell you in the industry, at least most, I can't think of one that I know that can't tell me a backstory of a similar situation to what you just described, that they have been there and done that. And it was that want and desire to bust out of it and get it receiving, investing enough in themselves to receive that training, receive that education, so to speak, to help somebody else by that want and desire to help people. It reminds me of what you were saying earlier about the childhood perception. It reminds me of a song somebody used as an example. You must have been a beautiful baby. Well, if I would, more and more people would say, well, what am I now?
Right.
You're saying that I'm really not that good looking now? If they don't feel they are, they immediately go to the esteem level of, oh, you must have been a beautiful baby. But that doesn't mean you're a beautiful person now. You're not a beautiful woman, man, etc. Versus the person of a good self-esteem, with a balance, so to speak, would say, well, thank you. Yes, I was, as a matter of fact. At least my mother thought so. And then roll from there. It's quite interesting how the mind, you must have been. You must have been. So if I must have been, does that mean I am now? Am I a wonderful, beautiful person now, or am I not? Because if the perception of the self is that they are not, then they are not.
Correct.
And they won't take it as a compliment. And I have that happen more and more times with the beginning with coaches. They're trying to coach and learn to be coaches, and they come back and say, wow, I had this thing happen, and this person just, their outlook is so dim of themselves. I don't know how I'm going to help them change that. Well, I think you need to get back to work, because you can, if you know, especially with NLP. Let's be serious, and conversational hypnosis, something we can touch on, is amazing. The right use of your words. One of my past business partners was able to. She actually wrote a book about the power of numbers, and it was absolutely fantastic because it broke down the words that we use on a regular basis that are so negatively minded. We change us. We got to change everything. You just can't change the weight like snapping fingers. It's got to come. It's all got to be up here. But as you said, the other addictions as well, the drugs, the drinking, the overeating, all of it comes from a state of mind of how valuable you feel you are. What are you worth? And I asked that question to some clients, Scott, and they're like, I've never been asked that question before. What am I worth? Excuse me 1 second. You need me? All right, it's not sounding very good. Okay. Well, we're doing the best we can with it. We've had a technical issue today, folks, with the radio part of our show. And excuse me for a second, Scott. I just got a message from our producer that, in fact, the blog talk actually is not sounding that great. So I may actually end the radio part of the show, but we'll see. We'll see what it sounds like, I guess, as we move along. But this part of it's doing great. So interesting. And more and more people should think about what you've said, Scott. It is the childhood stuff, quite often in regression techniques. And you're working with hypnotherapy in the regression you do is different than myself, although the modality of the way we do it is very, very similar. Where I go back to early childhood, and I don't usually go back further than that. My doors stop back at the youth, and they choose the year they want to see themselves to get in and find out where this thing started. Where did this issue start in my life that's caused me this low self-esteem, causes me to have those beliefs and the lack of worth in myself. Where did this start? What did I hear? What did I learn? And quite often it's infancy. It's going back to the 1, 2, 3-year-old mark first. Wherein that is all interesting and works very well. Yours goes a step further, which is quite amazing, and we'll talk more about that, folks. We're coming up on a half an hour into show, which is absolutely fantastic. I'm not even going to go to commercial because there's no need of it. We're going to stay right here on the blab, as they say, and we're going to continue talking. But I want to let everybody know, if you are interested in jumping in the hot seat and asking any questions, we still have quite a bit more to talk about. But at any point, from what Scott has relayed to you so far, what you've heard, and it's been fantastic. We have a lot of listeners out there right now. please feel free to do so. Our producer, my darling wife, Emily, is ready and willing to put you in the seat, and we'll see that you're there. We have an open seat right now, and it is unlocked, as they say in the bleb terms. So please, by all means, if you have a question, because we're going to get more into hypnotherapy and how it works, but some fantastic opportunities that he has presented to people. And in reality, you have really done a lot on television and radio, which is fantastic with what your technique is. And I've actually had some coaches say, I don't like to call it a technique. Well, okay, it is what we do. It's what you learn to do.
You can call it whatever you want to call it. It's fine.
And I know you sometimes don't call it that as well. It's because it is what it is that you do. And that's an amazing thing. So is there anybody, excuse me, pardon my English, is there anybody that would like to jump in the seat for a question right now before we move forward? Do we have anybody at all? I see we've got quite a few listeners there. All right, we have Choice Coaching Canada. Well, there we go. Emily, if you can help me bring Katie Gamazon into the hot seat. She has a question for Scott. I think, let's see. Not sure if I can do it myself. I'd like to. Oh, yes, I can. There she is. Hello, Katie Gamazon.
Hello.
There you are, live and living color from Sudbury, Ontario. Imagine that.
Imagine that.
Meet Mr. Scott Schmaren.
Hi,
How are
Scott.
you?
Nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you.
How are you today?
I'm amazing. And yourself?
Oh, I'm always amazing.
Good.
So my question is in regards to your book that is going to be coming out.
Yes.
So do you know when it'll be coming out and what we can expect from it?
It's probably not going to be out for a little bit. It's almost done. It needs to be edited. I want to produce small books. I find that people like small books.
Yeah.
They'll actually read them. And I want them to be a couple simple processes they can use to start transforming their life. Not necessarily only geared towards weight loss. They'll be applicable and usable for any area of your life. So it could be a little bit before it's out.
Okay. Also, I wanted to ask you a personal question. What would you consider your greatest success to date in your career?
That's a good question. I would say, you know what, the greatest success I feel is when one of my clients gets that aha moment and they make that connection and then they move forward. That's the greatest feeling I get, is when they actually get it and it makes sense in their head and all the pieces of the puzzle come together and they figure it out. Because from my perspective, it's not me. I'm just facilitating this. And it's when they put the pieces together in their mind, it's a beautiful thing.
Yes,
it is. I agree. And I've seen those aha moments myself in my coaching, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Isn't it? It's a great drug, isn't it?
It truly is, yes. Okay, well, those are all the questions I had for today. So.
Thank you. It was great. Thanks.
Katie,
thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Yeah, if you think of anything else and we have time, don't hesitate.
I will jump back on.
Because I know you love to talk and ask.
I do. I love to talk. All right.
And I will say before you go, she is a phenomenal coach, Scott.
Thank you.
Awesome.
And Jeffrey is a phenomenal hypnotherapist. I've had the opportunity and the pleasure of working with him myself. He helped me overcome something pretty amazing. So.
That's great. Where are you in Canada?
I'm in Sudbury, Ontario.
Which is where?
Okay, it's about 4 hours north of Toronto.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so I'm in the Great White North, and it is very white here right now.
Not here. Unfortunately, it's not white here anymore.
No, where are you?
I'm in Chicago.
Chicago, nice.
Yeah, we had more snow here yesterday in Maine. We had another storm, so.
Yeah.
Better you than us.
We're expecting another storm tomorrow, so.
There we go. Katie, I know how to touch with you. I mean, Katie is also online on coaching on Skype as well. You really broke into that since you've been and by the way, Emily, who is our producer, my lovely wife, and Katie who are here on with us today, are both platinum partners in our network. Yeah. And Katie and Emily are also directors, so they help all the back stuff that's got to get done. And especially when I try to rip this white hair out, they're there to help me. So it's great. Give your info real quickly.
Well, if you'd like to work with me, you can find me at www.choicecoachingcanada.com, or on Twitter, you can find me at Choice Coaching. I'm also on Facebook, so choicecoachingcanada.com, or you can send me a friend request to Katie Gramaison.
Very good. Well, thanks for coming on. It was a pleasure to have you.
Bye, guys.
All right, bye-bye. So, Scott, fantastic, and I have to agree with you. That aha moment is really remarkable. I liken it to one of the greatest pleasures I've ever had because, and I say one, it isn't the greatest pleasure I have in life because I've had many and do have many. But when you feel that and you see them come out of trance, especially the mine are on Skype, which is pretty amazing. And a lot of people said for a long time, you cannot hypnotize somebody on Skype. You can't do it. Well, I have to contradict that because I certainly can. And the interesting thing is I answer them very quickly and I say, you're right. I can't hypnotize anybody. See, I knew it. They go, no, you don't understand. I have the tools in the toolbox and I am the guy. I have the methodology to bring a person into trance, but it is the person that brings themselves into trance, actually. It is you allowing yourself to go into hypnotherapy, go into hypnosis and into trance that actually causes the state of hypnosis. And you bring the catatonic state on Skype and they can't move their arm or they can't move their hands, or one hand has gone to the sky and the other one's sitting in their lap and they open their eyes and go, huh? How did that happen? So it's quite amazing. So that feeling though, when you bring them out and they awaken, as we say, and they have just so changed their life. They know it's changed because the eyes light up. They have a new facial expression. They're light on their feet. They almost want to dance. And isn't that an amazing feeling? Oh, there's a coach.
It is an amazing feeling. And I think a lot of people have misconceptions on what the hypnotic state is. Most people think it's a guy standing there with a coin, waving it in front of your eyes, and then you're going to jump around and bark like a dog.
Yeah.
And, what I tell people is really the hypnotic state is a mono-focused state of mind, which basically means, okay, you focus all your attention on one thing, and then everything else just kind of fades away into the background. And I use the example as you're in and out of the hypnotic state all day long. You're watching a great movie in the movie theater and 3 hours goes by and the movie's over and it seems like it was 5 minutes. Where were you? What were you doing?
Absolutely.
You were hypnotically watching this movie and the rest of the world didn't exist. Or how most people drive their cars to work every day the same way and they have no recollection of ever driving to and from work. How did you do that?
Oh, that's happened.
You didn't kill anybody, hopefully. You didn't run any red lights. You drove there. And you were on autopilot. And that's what the hypnotic state is. And I tell people, it's not really me. I'm not controlling you. I'm a tour guide. I'm here to help you and point out things for you to see, feel, hear, and experience.
Exactly.
So you can make the changes you want to make. And it's really that simple.
And it is that simple. And people say it can't be because we're talking about me, we're talking about this, we're talking about all this stuff in my life, and there's nothing simple about it. And I won't disagree with that, but it really is and can be that simple. And those examples are perfect illustrations, Scott. I can't agree with you more. The movie theater is one of the nicest ones I like to talk about. And, think about the curtain opening on a show. You go into trance and the curtains close, and all of a sudden you allow the firewall to kind of part ways, and you allow the hypnotherapist to communicate with you in such a way that you want to go back and you relinquish and go back into your mind. Now, we can't make you cluck like the chicken unless you want to. Honestly, folks, it's not that way. Stage hypnosis, although it is funny, it's a part of the industry of hypnotherapy, but it's not hypnotherapy. It's just plain hypnosis on the stage. It's not what we call hypnotherapy. I don't even want to use the term on that. But it is what it is, and people have to be susceptible, and the hypnotist knows from looking out into the crowd who those people are. Because see it. It's the acuity of the way a person is relating to what he is saying prior to saying, "Would you like to come up here, please?" And then, they might dance around and cluck like a chicken and do silly things. That is not who we are. And the majority, in fact, every I don't look at any that are. I appreciate that they want to do what they want to do in the art of hypnosis, so to speak. Ours is from the therapy aspect of it. Ours is from the coaching aspect of it. You know, Scott, like myself, wants to help you break through what we call the veil or the firewall of your conscious thoughts up here. I had an interesting thought last week. A person asked me about Scott about the frontal zone, the frontal lobes of the brain, and one of our coaches and one of our platinum partners who has a fantastic show on the network, Dr. Simone Revis. Dr. Simone is all about neuroscience. She works with the brain. That's what she does. In psychology prior as a coach now. She's absolutely fantastic. And we were talking about it. A lot of people look at it. Well, look at who's here. We have a guest. Dr. Simone Revis. You know we were talking about you.
My ears were burning.
You have a lot of echo on your headset. I don't know what it is. Something's going on there. Anyway, as I was saying, the people that think about hypnotherapy and get nervous about it are quite amazing, because once they calm down, and Dr. Revis was talking about this last week, once they calm down and understand she's also a hypnotist. And actually, I should introduce you to Dr. Simone Revis, Scott Schmaren, and I've been calling Scott the hypnotist of the stars. I mean, and we haven't even. I still want to talk to you about how do you land on Oprah. We're still going to get to that. But Dr. Simone, have you got a great question for Scott? I imagine you do with your knowledge. Are you still there? Yeah, we're having a technical thing with echoing through your. I'm not quite sure what it is. I am also, if you can get that squared away, I am going to. I'm going to go end the show also on the radio while we're talking here real quick, folks. That is now done, because that may be part of it. I'm thinking it is, but we don't know. So that is gone, and here we are back to black. We've had the radio show, folks, because we are here, and we'll see if she can get back on, Scott. Let's get right to that, by the way. Let's talk about how did that happen? Oprah Winfrey, God bless her. She is fantastic with you. And even her heart is so huge. How did you wind up on Oprah's show?
Well, I always feel that things happen for a reason, and when you put it out there in the universe, it comes to get you. So it's a long time ago, and a long time ago, Oprah had a weight loss show that she put on, where she had lost a lot of weight on some crazy program. Well, at that time, she didn't have a studio. She was in the ABC studios in Chicago. Okay. And they were ABC News had done a story on me on losing weight, running the Chicago Marathon, and I was raising money for a charity. And one of the producers of her show saw that. And at that time, I was traveling on the road in the fabric business. I was in High Point, North Carolina, at a furniture market. And, we had no cell phones at that time. And I was calling an order in on a payphone. And my office said, you got a call from the Oprah Winfrey Show. They would like to talk to you. And the producer of the show said, Oprah's putting on this big show. It's going to be the highest rated show on TV of all time. And they're getting contacted by every weight loss company wanting to put a person on there. We saw your piece. We think you'd be a great guest on the show. So they sent the camera crew with me down to the Chicago Marathon. And I did the show. So, and it's really the same thing. I did a past life regression on the Howard Stern show from being a fan on the show. And I just simply sent them a message on their message board saying, "Hey, they had a guy on the show who was interested in mediums and psychics, and he was friends with a lady known as the Long Island Medium. He was friends with her husband, and he was on the show talking about how people come back from their past lives because they have unresolved business." And they were giving him a hard time. And I said, "Hey, wouldn't it be really cool if we could do a past life regression on him on the air? Here's what I do. Here's my name and number. If you want to check me out, just Google me." And I got a call from them, and I've been on there several times since. So,
fantastic! That's fantastic.
It's fun.
It is. It is. It takes just that one time. Emily can talk about different things that have happened in her business, even as of late. Connections that all of a sudden somebody recognizes who you are, that you can accomplish.
I'm losing you on the sound, Jeffrey.
Wow, I wonder what that is. That's my producer if she can still hear me all right. Emily, can you still hear me all right?
I can hear you now.
All right. Yeah, I don't know what that is. Okay, we're back. So fantastic, though, and I've been meaning to ask you that too. And then when I guess Dr. Small might be having a technical issue with her end with the headset or whatever, but hopefully she can come back on before we close out because she's great, and I know she had a question for you as well. So that said, it has been absolutely interesting to, and by the way, folks, if you didn't think that hypnotists were the same color, I mean, um, the, oh gosh, I can almost just thinking of something. When you did the book with Jack, I met Jack through one of my mentors and coaches, James Malinchak. James has Jack come out quite often out to LA when we get our 4-day event a couple of times a year. And great as well. How was it to work with Jack? He was fun, wasn't he?
You know what? In writing that book, we didn't work with the other authors. Each of the authors wrote their own pieces for that book.
Yeah.
So I really didn't sit down with him at all. I have not met him.
All right. Well, we'll have to make sure you do. Jack's a great guy.
That'd be great.
I don't know the next time he's scheduled. I'll probably we got some phenomenal guests coming up this July. I know that we'll be in LA somewhere about the middle of July. And,
Great.
One of our live events too. We'll be doing there for the network, the IAM network. So that said, I was thinking when I talk about hypnotherapy with folks, it is something that makes them a little nervous. They, I think, can appeal more to seeing and hearing what you've done because of the taping of the shows with Howard, the different radio shows, and I find that at my end as a coach, they appreciate and understand it. And I think that the stage hypnosis stuff is part of what causes that. And we alluded to it a little bit earlier, and I wanted to bring it back up again because, folks, it isn't really that, okay? Stage hypnosis is stage hypnosis. This is working with you from here to here. Dr. Mike Mandel, who I'm working with now to further my degree in hypnotherapy, put it this way one day during a class, and Scott, I know you'll appreciate this. He said the frontal part of the brain is like a U.S. quarter. Let's call it the size of a U.S. quarter. And what most people call subconscious, which used to call it unconscious. It's your thought pattern. It's your modus operandi. It's everything that causes you to do what you do. As Scott mentioned, whether you're in the movie theater, you're driving down the road, you might say, wow, I'm at the exit already. How did I get here? Well, if you think of your unconsciousness the size of a giant beach ball that you kick around at the beach, and your conscious up here is about the size of a quarter. And it has about 7-8 bits of stuff going on at the same time, but not at the same time. They jump around, and that's conscious thinking. And a lot of people work from this, which is quite amazing. I know quite often you find it with clients as well. They think that they don't think we're not born and bred to think about how this thing works. We just know we have it, and some people don't think this works very well because they have such issues in life. They think that they actually call themselves stupid. I must be this, and it's quite sad. But when you work with a client and they've come to you and they want to receive that from you to make that change in their life, have you found that to be true? That they think they don't understand hypnosis?
Well, I think that most people don't, and the greatest fear they have is that they're giving up control and they're letting me into their head, and I'm going to take control of them and make them into a zombie-like robot, which is not true. One of the questions I see up on the screen is, how do you explain the level of consciousness or what I do in hypnosis for a client? And this is how I describe my clients the experience they're going to have. At the one level, they may go so deeply into a hypnotic state, they may not have any recollection of the experience we have. And at the other end, I work with people that have ADD and ADHD, that they may be doing things like listening consciously, which we don't care because the conversations with your subconscious mind is that their mind wanders. So they're listening, and then they're thinking about they got to go pick up their kids later. Then they're listening, and then you've got to go and do something else. And that's fine. and most people have an experience somewhere in between. So, yeah, for most of my clients, it's not an issue. They just need a simple explanation because they really are afraid because they just don't understand.
Exactly. I noticed Dr. Reddy's also put up a question. Also, what brainwave frequencies predominates during hypnosis, and what are the consequences of that?
Well, I don't know if there's any. I wouldn't say there's any consequences. We're having a conversation right now, and we're fully active, and we're in beta. And then as your mind starts to slow down, we go into alpha, which is daydreaming, light dreaming at the beginning of the hypnotic state. And then that carries through down to theta, which is, deep dreaming sleep. And then the lowest level is delta, which is just deep sleep and no dreaming at all. So you're doing alpha, theta levels of brainwave patterns. I don't measure it. It's easy to see in a client when you're working with them. You can see their eyelids fluttering. You can tell by their level of breathing. Once in a while, you get a twitch from a hand or from a foot. There's no consequences from it, not at all. At least I've never experienced that.
Right, I agree with you. And on Skype, it's interesting because I don't get to see the foot movements, but I do ask them from a waist up shot. They need to sit back so I can see almost not the full body, but at least waist up so I can see their hands placed down on their lap, so to speak. Unless of course, we're going to do a catatonic experiment and see how they feel about that. To try to set things up. But why do we need that? And that's quite simply because I'm not there with you. This is on Skype. Hundreds and thousands of miles apart. I've actually Skyped and done hypnosis between Australia, New Zealand, and Maine. So it's that way. But I agree with you on that. Dr. Simone, I was hoping you could possibly get. If she had any other questions.
She's got a question. She wants to know the positive consequences of being in theta and alpha. There's a lot of things. You're entering a state where almost all things are possible. One, I find that most people, when they wake up from a hypnotic session, they feel like they have a long, restful nap and their batteries are recharged. And it also, that alpha theta stage is where you want to be to make change, and you can make change very rapidly that way for the things you really want, and you can take control. And in that state, there is no past, present, and future, so you can go back and forth in the timeline of their life, fix the things that had happened traumatically when they were younger, and then it carries forward into the present moment. There's a lot of really amazing things. There's really, the limits are your imagination, and your imagination only.
Very true. Hello, Dr. Simone.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you good.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's the alpha theta frequency. That's exactly what I had thought. Thank you for explaining that so well, so clearly.
Perfect. You had some great questions up there, Dr. Reddy.
Thank you. And, the topic is fascinating.
Good. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yes,
right.
Simone, you had a fantastic show yesterday. We're very happy to see that you. She just had a wonderful show yesterday too, and so we're hoping to do many more. These shows will be fantastic, and that every month we'll have a call like this with a great guest like Scott, and then we're going to be actually going to a broader schedule as well. Instead of interactive interviews is so well. It's so well perceived, as I should say. People love this type of discussion and getting together, and especially with this platform.
We're losing you on the audio, Jeffrey.
I don't know what that is.
On the visual.
On the visual?
Yeah, okay. I can't see you.
I can see me. We're going to be moving to a schedule of one a week as far as the interviews go, but then the call with the masters will still be one a month. So every fourth show will be a call with the masters, which is fantastic. So, and gee, we're climbing out of time. I can't believe it. It's almost 5 minutes left to show, guys. Wow. Simone, have you got any other questions for Scott? Anything else you'd like to discuss in the last few minutes?
Scott, I assume you've heard the term neurohypnosis?
I have not.
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
No.
I was going to ask you.
What do you mean by neuro? Because it is neuro anyway. It's the brain.
Right. And they had initially called hypnosis neurohypnosis many years ago, but now it's back in popularity. And I just wondered, your thoughts about that. But yeah, it is all neural. It's about the brain,
Right.
right?
So, I'm not big on terminology or, when I work with somebody, a lot of times I'm making up as I'm going along in our conversation we're having to construct something that works for them. One of the things that's really important is a lot of hypnosis seems to be very scripted. And I don't use scripts. My client is the script. When I work with somebody, I could be working with 30 people to lose weight. They all are trying to accomplish the same thing. However, each and every one of them has to experience it in their own unique way to make it work for them. And for me to use a piece of paper and read it to them, it's probably not going to be effective. So I don't script anything, and I'm using my creativity and your imagination, which means I'm going into that alpha theta state when I'm working with them.
Right, right.
Yes, yay!
Yes,
That's
that's
exactly right.
true.
The three of us are in unison on that one. So, still missing it.
We're losing you on the audio, Jeffrey.
I don't know what's going on with this silly thing. Am I back now?
I can hear you. Yes.
Okay, good. There's too many hypnotic coaches out there utilizing script.
Right.
And they sit there and they don't feel that they're just going to read the.
Well, that's what they're taught. They're taught
Exactly.
scripts. I mean, the most basic hypnosis training is scripts. If you go to a hypnosis conference, everybody's selling scripts. Used to be big script books. Now you see them on DVDs and CDs. And I've never used them.
You've got to just go with the flow and
Yes.
what's coming to you from the client.
I agree with you.
It's so individual.
Yes.
Nobody's the same. Not a one of us on this planet is the same, other than we can call ourselves a human being.
I agree.
Everybody's mind is so unique. You've got to work with all of them. That is nothing the script is going to do. I mean, it doesn't mean that they won't bring them into a hypnotic state. I won't say that. However, but I will say it's not going to be that lasting.
No.
Hypnotic experience.
And the hypnotic state is not very hard to induce. It's not. That's not really what hypnosis is. Inducing it is very simple. It's what you do with it when you get there is what can be really powerful.
Yes, it can. Yeah. We've got 3 minutes of showtime left. This has been absolutely fantastic. And Dr. Schmaren, I'm so happy you were able to get on and talk with Scott.
Sure.
We're going to do this again.
I'm glad too.
Yeah, this has been absolutely fantastic. And folks, you that are listening, and we want to thank you so very, very much. We're sorry for the technical issues. I'm not quite sure what that is on our end of our studio. We just had a mega system put in for internet. Powerful system. So I'm not sure what it is. The radio didn't want to take off for us until the last second, and then there was some problems with that as well. So we don't know. But what we do know is we had a great show, and the MP3 this live. You will have a phenomenal show to listen to as well.
Great.
And see. So we will do this again for sure. And Dr. Simone, thanks for jumping on again.
Sure.
Any comments on Choice Coaching Canada, thank you. And a big thank you to my beautiful, lovely wife, Emily, for producing and being in the background for us. And not that she's ever in the background. She's always typically up front.
She's the boss.
She is. She's laughing. I can hear her from the other studio. We're laughing. Scott, thank you so very, very much for coming on board with us. And we look forward to next week. We're going to have our private call with the masters where you're going to get to speak to our platinum partners.
Oh, that'll be a lot of fun.
All excited about that as well. And I know I've seen most of them, if not all of them, here today listening. And a couple were able to jump on with us as well. So it's great.
Great. Now I'm looking forward to next week also. It'll be a lot of fun.
Thank you. And folks, thanks so very much. And again, thank you, Scott. It's been a pleasure. And thank you for listening and being with us on the I Am Radio TV network. This show will be once a week. Once we get things rolling, we will be posting it so you'll see it on the Blab. We love the Blab platform. We also have our radio channel being built where we will have our own broadcasting, 168 hours a week of broadcast time available. So if you are a person of interest that would love to have a show, our first entries are, in fact, coaches, authors, speakers, professionals in business. And also our network is looking for partners. We are looking to work with the best of the best. And as we mentioned earlier, if you didn't hear that, we have 3 levels of participation. I won't get into that right now. And I am going to close
Yes, if you want to reach me, one, you can reach me by telephone, 847-331-5848. If you want to email me directly, it's scott@ultimatevisionarymind.com.
Excellent. And I suggest you do.
You should.
Because from what I see, as I said to folks when I do my own show, there's nothing more valuable than the space between the two ears.
Amen.
Nothing. Our health and everything else depends on it because it is how you think about you. And if you want to think that's so great about you and you feel you got a couple of things that are kicking you about the curb once in a while, you need to get a hold of Scott. Get a hold of a great coach.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Work with him because he does have the tools in his toolbox to help you make a difference. So again, from the IM Radio TV Network, Jeffrey Miller signing off. Until next time. Again, Scott, thank you so very, very much.
Thank you.
We'll catch you all on the next show.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.